the summertime, it felt right drinking cherry wine with you. Just wanted to own it, just wanted to take the time, learn all the things that I could about you. Now it's such a mess here, oh, we are just stressed here. Used to be so easy with you.
Welcome to Everything Sparkles, Scott. I'm so happy that you're kicking off the new year with me. I really, this
Thank
is going
you
to be
so much.
fun.
It's nice
Scott,
to be
tell us about your
the first of
background.
the new year, because it's going to be a great year.
What's going to happen this year? What do you plan for this year?
The planet's awakening right now. This is an amazing time. We're going to see things like we've never seen before. I think this year is going to be very interesting. I'm actually excited about a lot of things that are happening. Yep.
Well, tell us one of those things, can you?
Wow, you know,
something you could tell me.
I can talk about us, I guess. You know, I mean, everybody else will figure it out as it starts to happen. I think it's very interesting. This whole thing has been very. I think we've learned a lot. I think we're learning about ourselves, about how the world works, how our governments work, how everything. I think we're just people are starting to see things that they've never seen before. And I think it's a good thing. I think the people are starting to wake up and be very, realizing that, we've got to take basic control of our systems again, because they've been getting a little bit out of control. So I think we're going to see a lot of movement in that direction. As far as us, we've been working on, when this whole thing went down, this was going to be the biggest year for my company, which is Think Experience. And we're an immersive entertainment company. And we were involved in a whole bunch of incredible projects this year. The ThinkX band, which comes out of that, we were going to be playing. We were working on Europe. We were doing Jazz Fest this year, and everything stopped. So when that happened, I got up in the morning and I said, it's all disappeared. Nothing left. We're done, right? We're finished. And so I realized at that moment, first of all, that time was really, those things that were supposed to happen never really happened. So they were just illusions, right? They didn't happen. So I can't worry about it. And I just started looking at where are the opportunities right now? Because I think as an entrepreneur, this is, when there's chaos and stuff like this, it's incredible for those entrepreneurial minds, right? People that are into that. And I saw the opportunities, basically, that this is one of the greatest times for myself, being my fourth company as an entrepreneur. This is the greatest time I've ever seen in my entire life as an entrepreneur. I mean, there's so many problems that need to be solved. Things have shifted. A lot of the big companies are caught off guard. So it's a real interesting time for,
That's a positive outlook on this. Tell us a little bit about your company.
Okay. Yeah. So Think Experience is, I realized, let's say, quite a few years ago, I've been a technologist on top of being a musician. My background, as I came out, I was a saxophone player in Pink Floyd, and I played with Supertramp. I did rock and roll for many years, but I also got really involved in the technology space. And kind of one of my biggest claim to fame, I started a company called Seventh Level, and there I directed and produced, along with a partner, the world's first interactive cartoon. So I've been really involved in the technology space for quite a few years, and all my companies have been technology-driven companies. This one, Think, was really about the fact that, as an artist, I started looking at things and saying, well, you can't sell music anymore. There's no place to sell music. I can't sell it. There's no more downloads. Nobody buys downloads.
Right.
Nobody CDs. I remember those. I have to go to my car to play one because I still have a CD player in my car.
I love that.
But that's about it, right? So, there's no way to sell music. So I started thinking, what can you sell? And the two things you can sell, or several things, is number one, the relationship. And you see that, certain types of online stars are selling subscription to things, to the relationship, which is the lifestyle. And then the other thing is an experience, some form of an experience. So I realized that the experience was really where the dollars were, people were spending money. And I was looking at things like, those pop-ups, like the Museum of Ice Cream, right? Simple thing. They pop it up and it's selling out like crazy, lines around the block for unique experiences. So we started doing, last year, we did 40 shows with the Think band. ThinkX is the band. And our first Think experience was a Think Floyd experience. We were doing Pink Floyd in a 360-degree immersive dome with an all-star band. So my bandmates is Steve Perkins from Jane's Addiction, and Kenny Olson from Kid Rock's band, and Norwood Fisher from Fishbone. And, you know, we have a great group, a bunch of players. And so we did that, and we sold out 40 shows. And
Wow.
it was crazy. And it's really it was about the experience, because you're in this 360-degree dome, laying on the floor, looking
Where
up.
was all this at?
It was downtown Los Angeles at a place called Wisdome, LA. And it was a brand new immersive theme park kind of an idea. And from that, we started experimenting with other types of technology. Like we started using, testing out clothing that was interactive. You know, so it had chips built into it, and you could tap your phone and do all kinds of things, but really about how do you create a unique experience. So we were getting ready to, we were in the midst of working with a company out of Canada to put the most advanced immersive theater in the world up at the Queen Mary. It was basically a $15 million structure, put together by a bunch of guys from Cirque du Soleil, you know, that type of a thing. And we were getting ready to put this up, and then COVID hit and everything went ka-chunk, stopped. Right. So then I thought, okay, everything's done. No more revenue. We're done right now. So where is the opportunities? And I started looking at the opportunities, and really where I think the new business models are going is, one, it's a live event, but it'll be a more controlled live event to be more around the, you know, this little bit of social distancing and all that kind of stuff. The second piece, which is critical, which is streaming, but it's really taking advantage of two-way streaming. It's the real-time, you know, streaming of information back and forth. So the concept of bringing the fans into the stream, so fan in stream, and figuring out new ways to incorporate people that are in a virtual sort of space. In other words, in, you know, a video world, and actually bringing them into the live event. But the third thing we added was delivery service. And the concept
is kind of like what we're going through now, though, with the streaming, so people can have and be interactive where they're not actually there, but from home.
Yeah, you know,
wow.
I can start going to the event, and I can bring my friends with me virtually. Right?
I love that.
So I start bringing my friends.
Do that.
But the big one is the delivery service, because I can deliver you something before our show. So we have a whole set of boxes that we send out to people, and they get a whole experience in the box. They get to experience it with us live as we do our live streaming show. I love that. Wow, and it's called Livin'. Cool. Thank you. It's called livin.live, livn.live. And we were just getting ready to shoot our first pilot. We did a test run, but we were getting ready to shoot our first on the 14th of just a couple weeks ago. And we got closed down again. So we won't be able to do that till the beginning of the year, as soon as we can get back to doing shows of some sort again. So, but yeah, I'm very excited about a lot of the opportunities. I think what's happened is, you know, the COVID thing has accelerated technologies, and normally the user behavior of how technologies are working. Because look at what we're doing. Look at you. You're in business. You've got your worldwide broadcast network. You can broadcast worldwide. It's crazy. You know, this thing here is your worldwide broadcasting device. You can do, not only can you broadcast, you can take the order. So somebody can give you money, right? You can
I love that.
It's incredible. So this is,
we're becoming very savvy around here.
Oh yeah. It's a really interesting time, I think, for artists and entrepreneurs, because it's all moving to a direct to consumer market. So everything is being able to go direct. I don't need a middleman anymore. I just need audience. So I can garner my own audience. Listen, Twitter's a 24-hour cocktail party. I can be on with people, and I can start building audience. I can build my super fan base around whatever I'm selling, my product, my artistry, or whatever that is. And then I can take the order. So, you know, and what's very interesting is that you don't necessarily have to have millions of people anymore. It goes back to Kevin Kelly, who was from Wired Magazine, coined a term probably 10, 12 years ago called the true fan. The super fan, basically. And the money is in the true fans. And he coined this thing called 1,000 true fans. And a true fan is somebody that will spend $100 a year on you over the year. If I have 1,000 people that care enough, there's my first $100,000 in revenue, and then I can grow from there. So, you know, it's an area I've been really interested in.
How did you get into all this? Because your background's in music. You're playing for Pink Floyd, right?
Yep.
When was this? When were you playing?
Well, actually, my father was a serial entrepreneur when I was growing up. When I grew up, we had boat businesses, we had donut businesses, we had 26 donut shops one time when I was a
So
kid.
you guys are both in the arts and business people.
My dad was a
that's
professional musician, and in the studios and did television for years, and very well-known studio musician, and but always serial entrepreneur. So I kind of picked that up from him, and ever since, like I said, I'm on my fourth company. I took one of them public. Seventh Level was a public company on NASDAQ. And that's where I really got into the tech. So all my stuff has been tech. So I've been that guy that's a kind of an in-between technology and artistry, right? The artist. And so I've kind of combined those. And I actually been teaching where I taught, not right now, but I taught at USC a course. I went out there, I was lecturing there on a system I call SPACE. And SPACE stands for Story, Plan, Army, Conversion, Education. And it's really the new business model for artists or people like you that are like, hey, I'm going into business now. I've got my broadcast network. I'm going to start my network. And so it's how to build a business. So it's really thinking more like like you're a startup as opposed to being some form of an entertainer or a talk show person. You've got to approach your whole thing as a business.
When did you come up with like the business side of all of this from the musical side of this? Because
it's like I said, I've been into the business side. I've had multiple companies.
But tech is a different thing, and don't take this the wrong way, but pretty much anybody over 40 is just really bad at technology. A lot of times it's like, they're like, oh, here, let's go give it to like the 17-year-old, like do all of our tech stuff. And how do you stay so savvy and like educate yourself and become really good like you are?
Well, I love what I do, and I love innovation, and I love business. I just love the concept, the art of business. That's why I always teach artists. It's not, oh, business is this and art is this. No, you merge them together, because there's nothing more exciting is when your art actually created a business and you got paid for it, right? Because otherwise it's a hobby. So,
and you stay learning though. You stay educating yourself on all this because you're
all the
super
time,
tech savvy now.
You have to. I mean, it's like I get up every day. I try to teach artists, and it's all about being educated. And what's so beautiful is you have Google now. You can just basically type in, conversion funnels, part of how do conversion funnels work, and you type it in. There's a million things. So you can learn everything you need to do pretty much by just going on YouTube and Google. I mean,
isn't that the truth? Wow.
Oh yeah, everything's there, and there's so many people willing to give you information and teach you what to do, and you can now be your own direct-to-consumer business, and virtually anybody can do it. I mean, you just need a phone. The tools have gotten so cheap, right? I mean, they're basically.
There's a lot of people watching that are wondering where they can take your class and pick your brain.
Yeah, space. Well, we're working on that with a group of people out of New York. We just. We're actually going to put together a whole set of courseware around Story, Plan, Army, Conversion.
I think you're going to have to.
Yeah,
I think the demand's too much.
It's the winning formula. It works. Again, it's taking stuff that I've learned. I'm a big lean startup person, and lean startup is a set of principles that they use in Silicon Valley. A lot of companies come out of the lean startup, and it's a set of principles. One of them is fail fast. So if you have an idea and you want to put it out to the world, if it's no good, you want to fail quickly. Otherwise, you hang on too long, you waste time, you waste money.
That's such a big problem. Like I've noticed people have had. That's really smart. Fail fast.
Fail fast. You want to know. So, and the other one of the big principles is to test and validate everything. So before you get started, and let's say you do your idea, you're going to go put money into your idea. You want to test and validate it to make sure you got strong market signals that this has got some legs, right? And then the third thing is you don't want to run out of resources. So you don't spend any money until you figured it out, right? You really test, validate. So an example, when I was working on my last company, when we were designing interfaces for our application, I'd go to Starbucks. I'd find somebody sitting there that looked like the kind of person. I say, hey, can I buy you a cup of coffee? They say, yeah, let me buy it. So I just want to ask you questions. I put my drawings out. I have a set of certain kinds of questions, the way I ask them, because I want information, and you get feedback. You can't get it from your friends and your family because they're always going to tell you you're great, right? Oh, that's great. I love it. Oh, your song is awesome. I listen to it. I think it's great. Oh, your business, it's perfect. I can see it. But it's really the people. You want to get in front of people and find out what you're going to do as an idea. And one of the other things, in case you have people out there thinking about starting a business, one of the really important tools that I use is called the Lean Canvas. The Lean Canvas, and you can go to Lean Stack, STACK, leanstack.com, and you can get a Lean Canvas. Now, the Lean Canvas, what it is it's a one-page business plan, and it's 9 questions, and it's an interactive thing, and you can go type in. They ask you these 9 questions, and
where do we get this from? The Lean Canvas.
Lean Stack, STACK, LEANSTACK.com, and it's a one-page business plan. It's a process. And inside the Lean Stack, you'll see it. It's like a grid of 9 squares, and it asks a question in each square. And there'll be a little button you can sit there and click on it. And there's a movie you can see that says a little video that explains to you how you're supposed to answer this. So the idea of this is it helps you focus your ideas. One of the things it does, it doesn't only tell you what you're going to do, it tells you what you're not going to do. Because a big part of Lean, the model of Lean startup, is about doing the smallest thing you can do that's going to give you the biggest amount of bang, right? So you don't spend your time on some massive project that you're trying to get done. You say, what is the tiniest thing I can do right now that's going to get me success and move myself up the food chain, basically? So it really teaches that. And so what Lean Canvas does is it whittles your thinking down until you get it really tight. You know exactly what you're going to do and what you're not going to do, because you can waste a lot of time. And as an entrepreneur, you want to kind of keep going and making things happen quickly.
The only thing I worry about or wonder about is, with Starbucks, I heard they were rejected by like 200-300 banks or whatever for the loan for this great idea they have, which is now the Starbucks we know. So at what point do you're like, I have a genius idea, I need someone to see it? And what point are you like, no, I need to listen to all of this? I mean, you know what I mean? What point do you have to?
Well, that's why you have to remember the space model is story. Let me just walk you through the process real quick. And it gets real deep, but we can go. Story is the most critical piece, right? You need to understand your story. And like I try to tell artists, your story isn't, hey, I was born in Cincinnati, I play the guitar, I grew up, blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares about that story. The story is what do you stand for? What problem do you solve? What is your value proposition? What is it that your story that people are going to build a rally cry around? Once you determine what that story is, and it's like, again, what I always ask, one of the first questions I ask every artist is is this a business or a hobby? If it's a business, then we have to have customers and they got to write you checks. So whatever you're going to do, you got to put a monetization to it and figure out how you're going to get paid. And the second thing, the last one was the other one I was going to tell you. I forgot. I just went and did one of those spaces. But anyway, what purpose? What is your purpose? What do you
what do you bring to the table?
What do you bring to the table? What is your unique thing? What is it you stand for? What problem are you solving? When I ask an artist what problem you're solving, they go, wait a minute, I sit around, smoke fatties, and write songs. Well, that's fine. That's a great hobby. And if you want to play the hit business and try to hopefully get somebody to find your song and discover you, that's fine. But this world now is, I can build my own business. I don't need anybody else. I can go direct to the consumer. I can get my own audience. I can get them to write me checks. I can take the thing, and I don't need anybody, right? I can go there, and I don't need that many people.
And nowadays, bands are like, you don't even really need a band. Now you have everything that could build around. You could be a one-man person and do it all. So that's,
you can. It's really tough to do it all yourself. It's really important to build your little team. You got to have a team because there's a lot of work in the model, right? It needs people, it needs skill set, because you got to ask yourself, are you a starter or a finisher? Right? Some people, no, I'm a starter. I'm a rockin' starter. I know I can start things all day long, but I need people to work with me, partners that are the finishers. So I go get it started, and then I can hand them the thing to do the follow-up and make sure things are happening. So the first thing is you need to understand who you are as an entrepreneur. What are your skills? Where are you lacking? What do you need? Right? And that starts to go down through the process when you go through the story. And then once you get the story, you go to the planning side. So that's why you start doing the Lean Canvas idea. You start working through your business ideas, your models. Is it really a valuable project that I'm going to do? Whatever I'm bringing to market, whether it's me as an artist or it's a product or a show like yours, it doesn't matter. It's whatever you whatever your thing is, you need to understand and put a plan around that. And that's why the lean canvas is is very important. The second thing I want to tell everybody is you need to understand every business now is in the entertainment business. We're all in the media business, because any business, I don't care if you're a garbage truck company, you're posting every day on
That's
YouTube
very
and
true.
Facebook and everything. So you have to learn how to market yourself and learn the essence of being in the media business, because you got to get people's attention, right? So you got to have good content. You got to create value. So we go from store, we go to the plan. And then the next one's the A, is the army. And those are your super fans and the influencers. The most important thing I tell entrepreneurs is the first thing is to influence the influencers. So who are the people that you can influence that will go talk about you? Because it's so much easier to sell what you're doing if you have somebody else saying how cool you are. It's hard to say, hey, I'm really cool. My business rocks. I'm really good, right? But if I get somebody else
bragging about you.
If somebody that's an influencer says, you got to pay attention to this guy, they have something really good, then you're going to get the attention. So the A for Army is building out who are your influencers, and then who are the super fans, because inside the super fans, you can start finding people that can actually help you with your business. It's interesting to me, artists go and they say, oh yeah, I got people that show up my shows every time, Bob and Jane. I said, do you know what they do? Well, no, I never really asked them. Oh, well, maybe one of them is a Photoshop expert. Maybe the other one's a video editor or a website builder or something. So now you have your super fans that you can reach out to help you put your business together.
Your advice is so amazing, Scott. I could pick your brain for hours.
You could, and I would let you. You're big.
Where can we follow you at? So, I mean, you said you're working on getting a class. You're working on getting this stuff too. Are you working on a book for this?
We're putting together a courseware of this whole idea, and I'm working on taking. I'm going to take probably 6 to 10 people through the entire process, and they'll be part of the courseware. So if it's something you'd be interested in, but I got to have real entrepreneurs that want to get up every day and go to work, because it is work. It's not simple as it sounds. The process is simple, but it's a lot of work to do the pieces, right? So we'll be doing that. And then I just wanted to finish up real quick. So after you figured out your army of your influencers and the people around you,
and their talent, what they can
and their talents, and remember, they can be the mouthpiece for you, and you can figure out what you have there. Then you go to the C, which is conversion. And conversion is converting those people to either to buy your product, show up at your shows, or whatever you're selling, whatever your value proposition is. And what I mean by that, learning how conversion funnels work. I mentioned that earlier. A conversion funnel, what it is, right? So go to Google, type in, what is a conversion funnel? Well, quickly, a conversion funnel is, I meet you for the first time. I want to get your first, that's our first time we've met on our conversion. Oh, give me your email. Boom, I get your email. Now I set up my email system. So I have a drip system, meaning that there's an automated piece that once I put your name into that system, you get an email and says, hey, thanks. It was great to meet you, blah, blah, blah. Oh, by the way, here's something for you. And you give them something. It could be an ebook. It could be a song. It could be some information, something. And then there's a drip system. So like every week, you have a different email that comes out that's automated. It's built into your system to help move people through the conversion, because at the end, you want to get them to do something. Oh, please sign up for my newsletter. Oh, please come to my show. Whatever that what you're converting to. So you need to learn about conversion and conversion funnels. Once you get that, and then the last one is E, which is education. And all those things I mentioned up above don't matter unless you get educated. And that's why I tell artists, they got to get up every day. First 2 hours in the morning is you're reading blogs, you're learning from the masters on what to do, and then you're applying what you're learning on a daily basis to the things you're doing.
Right.
So that's basically a quick walkthrough of SPACE, that strategy, that methodology that I put together.
I love it. And it's so cool to say this is a business, because I've always prided myself on being in the arts and then a business person. Sometimes I found myself so wrapped up, and then I don't go back to doing the arts because I'm so focused on the business side of it. So you essentially kind of teach people to balance.
Well, you have to. That's why you have to understand what it takes. It takes a team. It takes a certain set of mindset, of variety, skill sets that you need to have around yourself. Very few people I've ever found that can do it all, because it's consuming. you know, you should be spending 4 hours a day on your social network, and then the other 4 hours working on your craft, right? Your projects. I mean, there's a lot of work in doing this and building up your audience and providing value and getting them to come back. Because it's one thing to have somebody come once, but it's getting them to come back and keep
that staying power, right?
It's that staying power. And that's why you say you have to understand, what is it? What's my value? What problem am I solving? What am I doing to help people? Right. That's why even like these types of these blogs, these video, podcast type of things, it's really important. I believe it's more important to find a niche than to be general purpose is rough, because everybody's out there general purpose. But when you find a niche, especially around something you want, remember, you don't need that many. This is about building a hive. In other words, if you want to survive, you have to build a hive. And what I mean by a hive is it's that group of people. And you're seeing all the social networks have set up groups and things. People are moving away from the overarching social media, and they're moving into groups of like-minded people, content, things that they care about. So if I was giving you advice, I would say find a niche that you can talk about that becomes so important to your post that you're going to find all those people will find you. Then you get into growth hacking, and you find somebody that can growth hack your account for you and help drive the audience that cares about what you're presenting. That's the whole game. Because remember, it's not about millions anymore. It's about couple thousand. I mean, listen, if you had 5,000 people paying you, $7 a month, you'd be a happy camper. It's 5,000 people. It's not 50,000 or 5 million.
You're very right. Sometimes people go too big, and your mindset of like starting kind of zeroing in, starting
small. Go small. My whole thing is go small.
I like that.
Don't go large, go small. Go very targeted, start small. It's not even the 1,000 people. It's get the first 1 to 200. If you can figure out how to build a repeatable process for 1 to 200 people, and those people keep coming back and they care about it, then you can scale from there, because you found something that repeats. That's a big part of lean is in business, is you got to find a repeatable model, something that's going to be repeatable. Because it's one thing putting these shows up and getting, a couple thousand people to watch it, but how do I get them to write a check? Is it a business or is it a hobby? Right. So how do I get people to write a check?
You must have helped a lot of people. Have you helped anybody that we know of?
I just taught a lot. I took a lot of artists, small artists, gave them the tools, and they've been doing pretty good. I've even taken some artists that were very interesting that really didn't really think an example was I took a country and Western duo in their late 50s that did alternative country Western that were okay, but not like I would say, like the greatest thing I've ever seen. They did a nice job, and they were trying to get their business. They'd get their records and they'd release it, and everything would happen and nothing would really go anywhere. So I said, well, okay, let's talk about it. Let's look at what we're doing. So I looked at them and I said, well, okay, tell me about yourself. Oh yeah, we've been doing this country. I said, well, what else do you? Said, well, we've been in real estate. Oh, well, tell me about your real estate business. Well, yeah, we've been doing our real estate business. And we also started this foundation. We really want to help the veterans get into homes. I said, oh, solving a problem. Now we're talking. You want to help veterans get into homes. Okay, that's a problem you're solving that needs to be solved. Now let's build our business around that idea, my music and entertainment business. And you're saying, well, how does that work? Well, the perfect example is they have their foundation. They talk about, when they go on radio and stuff, they talk about the foundation. They use their music as the thing to get them out there, right? To make them unique, to get the shows. And then they talk more about what their goals are, what the mission they're on. The rally cry, they create a rally cry to get people to get behind them. Then what we did is we found all the veterans organizations, right? Through growth hacking. Everybody should go read what growth hacking is. It's a combination of technology and marketing, right? And you can go, because we have access to the data now. We can go find the audience. So once I know when the important part of the story is not just what the story says, it's the keywords and phrases in that story. Because once I have those keywords and phrases, I can go find people that care about veterans, affairs and want to help the veterans. That's an audience if I'm going to go sell my wares to, I might as well go to people that care about what I'm
So
doing.
now, not only are you helping people with their businesses, you're kind of like changing the world and like really helping.
Well, that's the idea. I think that's really the model, especially now after COVID. This isn't about giving back anymore. We have to give forward, because there's going to be a lot of people. There's going to be a ton of people hurting right now. I mean, once this thing lays out, you've heard the World Health Organization said poverty is going to double in the next 12 months. We're seeing homelessness. We're seeing people going out of business. I mean, this is going to be a very, a rough ride for many, many people. And us as business people and stuff, we need to start figuring out how we can help support, because it's not going to all come from the government. We're going to need
to have you on like every 6 months, Scott, to give
no problem. My favorite subjects. I love all this. Next to consciousness, that's my favorite subject.
Where can we follow you on everything?
Everything I do is I am Scott Page. I am Scott Page.
I am a Scott Page.
Yes, everything's I am Scott Page. And if you hit me up, text me. I'm always, people hit me up. I don't mind on those sites, and I'll talk to them, and I try to help as much as I can.
Awesome. We're going to put all of that out there. I think everyone needs to follow you. Thank you so much, Scott. I can have you on so much longer. I've never met somebody whose brain I want to pick so much in a very long time.
Anytime. You know me, you can tell I love to talk. It's not been my problem.
What a way to kick off the new year. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you very much, Shane. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you.
Have a great 2021, right? 2021 is going to be the one. That's where we're going to get back to having some fun.
Okay, welcome to the Everything Sparkle Show, Mickey. Tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm a TV host in New York City. I've been doing it for 25 years. I had your past guest on my show, Scott Page, not too long ago. But my show Profiles, it's called. We recently celebrated our 500th episode here in New York City.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
500?
Well, 500 last January. I guess, it's been a while now. We're at about 527 now.
So what is it, twice a month?
No, it's weekly.
Wow, that's impressive.
It airs on Saturday and Sunday nights in New York City, and it goes out to 20 million potential viewers.
Oh my. So when are you going to have the lovely Sparkle on?
Well, now that I've had this conversation, soon I hope. Where are you right? Where are you now?
California. I've been a California girl like my whole life, but I love the East Coast, and people always think I'm from the East
That's a long bus ride, but we'll work it out, Spark. We'll work it out.
So is it always you've since COVID and all that stuff happened, you've been doing like live streams kind of like this, right?
No, we've been doing it. We stopped for March, April, and May. We couldn't do it in the studio, but during the summertime things improved somewhat. So we've been back in the studio about 60% of what we used to do.
Nice. That's so cool. So when did you get started in this?
In TV? Well, I started many years ago at Fox Television in New York City. And I've been in front of the camera now for 25 years.
So what were you doing behind the scenes?
Well, at Fox, believe it or not, I started out at the, I always tell people a piece of suggestion is you want to get into broadcasting, get in and do whatever you can do to get your foot in the door. So I started at Fox as a sound man on the news crew. I was the guy with the big boom mic and the microphone handing it to the reporter. But I really wanted to be in front of the camera, but you have to work your way in, and I did.
So you just were holding that stick the whole time they were talking.
Yeah, I would, and once you're in, you have a chance of doing what you actually are there for, or that you want to do, and that was.
So were you angry when you actually got in front of the camera? Were you an anchor?
Was I angry when I was?
No, were you an anchor? Were you a news anchor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but that took time. Today a lot of people want gratification. I did several shows before I actually got to do what I'm doing today. I did many different kind of shows. I did a news magazine show, many different kind of shows before I got.
And it's a lot of work too. People don't realize all the little work that goes into it, because you're kind of like, you have to do some of the writing. You still have to do a lot of your own stuff.
Well, now I do all the writing, but research I have some help with. But even when I get all the research together, you still have to form. The interview is a half hour on television. That could be a long time if you're not prepared.
Wow.
You have to make it compelling, and the key to success is you have to do your research. If you're prepared, you'll survive any interview.
What was the craziest interview you did? What was something that happened that something was thrown at you weren't prepared for?
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
What was one of the most interesting interviews you've ever done where something was thrown at you that you weren't prepared for?
Oh, that happens all the time. It happens all the time. I remember. You remember the actor Christopher Plummer? He won an Academy Award. He was in The Sound of Music.
Yes, of course, yeah.
So I wanted to. Sound of Music made him famous, right? Made him famous. So when I asked him about The Sound of Music, I don't want to talk about it. I hate that movie. So I was surprised, And how do you come back with a response like that? What you do is you smile, don't let them see you sweat, move on to the next question. And that's what I did.
Did he laugh about it? Yes, you have to expect that's going to come up.
Yeah. And one time I had the dancer Broadway actor Ben Vereen on. And I asked him a question, how are you and how you doing? And I went off on a tangent for about 20 minutes. On the first question, and I had to stop the interview and say, Ben, I got 20 minutes worth of question. Can you shorten your answer? And I asked the second question. He went on another 20 minutes. So you never know. You can't control every interview, and you never know what you're going to get in return.
Wow. But so right now you have your own show, and where do we watch it now if we're in California?
Well, you can watch it online. The network that I work for is called NYC Media. That's New York City's official television network. And they have a website, NYC Media. And they always put like our last shows online. So you can
it's not live.
Watch them, just search profiles on NYC Media. No, I'm not going to see it live. Only if you're in a 50-mile radius of New York City. That's New Jersey, Long Island, 5 boroughs, Connecticut.
I love it though. So it's mainly kind of New Yorkers that you interview. I love New York, so I love the people there, the food, everything. It's mainly New Yorkers that they have to at least be in town to interview with you.
Yeah, you're an interviewer and you do a great job. Why don't you come to New York? Will you be my co-host for a day?
Oh, I would love to. We'll give Kelly and Who's her? Ryan, A Run for Their Money. I was trying to think of who her co-host was now. Tell us about some of the fun interviews that you've had.
Well, I've had Joan Rivers on 3 times. I really liked her a lot. Smokey Robinson, I like. I like the people that when I'm done with the interview, I've either learned something or taken something away that I feel was really important. I can give you an example.
Who are some people that you hope to interview that you have not interviewed yet?
Well, the only one I've met him once. I always wanted to have Tom Jones on the show. I've recently had Engelbert Humperdinck on, the singer. He lives out.
Wow.
But Tom Jones I met, but I've had a tough time scheduling him on the show. But he just turned 80 years old and still sings great, I'll get him eventually. And Raquel Welch, I've always wanted to have on the show.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting her as well. Usually, it takes a while sometimes, but we always get our man,
Who were you surprised that you got to interview that you couldn't believe you were able to get on your show?
Well, I think that the person that it was Smokey Robinson was one. Two was Dr. Maya Angelou. She was really hard to get, and I got her on the show. And it was one of those things when I got her, in Wayne's World, am I worthy kind of thing, And but I was prepared. She was pretty good, She let me survive.
How crazy! So we can watch those old episodes as well on the website.
Well, yeah, as I said, the current ones are in MIC Media. The older ones, you can just go to YouTube and put in Profiles with Mickey Burns, and you'll see tons that go back almost 20 years, from the current to 20 years back.
Oh, that is incredible. You've got to be impressed and proud of yourself just to have like all this body of work that is there forever that we can always go and watch.
Yeah. So sometimes I sometimes sit back and say, how did I do all that? It's been quite an honor to have all these iconic celebrities give their time to share their intimate stories of their life and career with me. What a thrill. What an opportunity. I'll never forget it.
What was one of the most shocking interviews you had where someone revealed something surprising?
Well, Eli Wallach, the actor, he was in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Clint Eastwood. Do you remember him at all?
I do remember.
He said to me afterwards, the interview was great. He was like 96 years old when we did the interview. And afterwards he said to me, Mickey, take a walk with me. So I'm walking up Broadway with Eli Wallach. That's a good day, And I said, Mr. Wallach, where are we going? He said, we're going to go to the cobbler. I'm going to get my shoes fixed. And I was kidding around. I said, well, why don't you just go buy a new pair? He didn't think that was funny. He grabbed me by the wrist. He looked me right in the eye and he said, Mickey, I grew up during the Depression. But back then, we didn't buy new, we fixed old. And he said, I've never been able to take that. And he was 96. And
I love that.
What a story. I couldn't believe it, So, like almost every interview has something like that within it that you take away with you and stays with you a lifetime.
When did you interview Joan Rivers?
Well, I interviewed her 3 times, So I interviewed her once when she was doing a show locally. I interviewed her another time when she had 2 books out. One was on plastic surgery. One was on her doing the red carpet. And there was always something. And then the next time they were doing a documentary about her life. And we had her on for that. But people don't realize how smart she was. She was like the smartest person in the room. Really smart and very giving and funny.
So when some of these people like her passed away, do you go to their funerals because you're kind of an integral part of their lives, and they tell you so much, reveal so much. I think people don't realize how much you're almost as much a part of their lives as the people on there behind them. Have you been to some of the funerals?
I have been to some. For those that I can't attend, I always honor them on social media, and most of it, many times, rerun their episodes. Which is always a nice touch.
It's got to be sad too when you see that. It's just like, oh, I was just sitting with them and then I just talked to them.
Yeah. Oh, it's very sad, because you do. I mean, not all of them, but there are some of the celebrities I've become good friends with over the years. So they're an extended family in a way. One I can think of is Tony Orlando, the singer. When I was doing my book, I just came out with a book last year, and it's called From the Profiles. It's called From the Projects to Profiles, a memoir. Where is it? There it is. From the Projects, Profiles, a memoir.
Okay, Mickey, what's the projects here?
The projects are the housing, the New York City housing projects in New York where people of low income live. When I was living there, it wasn't so much that. It was a place that, after the war, people had no place to live. So they built projects for people to have a roof over their head after World War II. And that's where my parents lived. Since then, most of the projects have become lower income dwellings. So that's what the projects mean. You would know that in California, wouldn't you?
I've heard, no, but I've spent a lot of time in New York and I've heard of that. I wanted to know if you were actually had lived in the projects, or that was just like a term you were using, or if you were just saying that you were used to be poor and now you're like this. I love the title, by the way.
Well, that's what the projects, the profiles represents, And you'll see them in New York. They're like 6-story dwellings. Now they're not the greatest places to live because they have gang violence and drug situations. But when I was growing up, it was a pretty place. Well, there always things to play with,
And where can we get the book from? On all of like Amazon and anywhere you can get books on Kindle?
Yeah, I came out with my second book. This book here is From the Projects to Profiles, a memoir, and I talk about my broadcasting career, how sports was my vehicle out of the projects and to get an education. And you can get it on Barnes & Noble. All you have to do is search Burns, and my 2 books will pop up. This year, I have a coffee table book that we released, and it's called Inside Celebrity Profiles, A Visual Journey. And you get a kick out of this, Sparkle. This spring, I said to my photographer, who's been with me 20 years, I said, his name is Robin. I said, Robin, how many photos have you taken over the 20 years on and around the set of profiles? He said, I don't know, but I'm going to go home and check. He called me that. He said, I have 20,452 photos. So I said, well, so I told our publisher, our publicist, and she called the publisher and do a coffee table book, and we did, and we released it a month ago.
Oh my gosh, I want to get both of these books. This is so exciting.
Just if you go to Barnes and Noble, put my name in, you'll see both books.
Perfect. That's what I'll do. Mickey, do you go deep in the stories on the memoir book? Do you tell a lot about the stuff people would never know?
Yes. Yeah, I talk about some of the inside stuff that people probably didn't even know about if they saw the interview. Absolutely. Yeah.
Did you ever date anybody that you interviewed?
Did I do what?
Did you ever date anybody that you interviewed?
No, I don't think it's good to mix business with pleasure.
I know. I just have
not a good idea.
Story.
Have you ever dated anyone that you had on your show?
Yes.
Good. Okay. All right. How'd it work out?
Still with them.
It worked out okay?
Yeah, still with them.
Okay.
But that's like
a
a rare
success
story.
story, Sparkle. That's
a rare story.
yeah. Yeah.
Did you?
But
So
I have been able to maintain many friendships.
Many friendships. So who are some of the other ones that you had some friends with that you didn't bring up?
Well, I had, it was funny because I had a story with the football great Joe Montana. Remember him?
Yes.
He was the four-time Super Bowl champ, Joe Montana. I was interviewing him in a hotel room in New Jersey. He was there for a sports memorabilia conference. And the people said, his people said, the interview was at 5:30, but you can come at 4:30, set up the lights and the sound. So when he walks in, you're ready to go at 5:30. So we got there at 4:00. We set up all the stuff. And it was a nice spread of cold cuts, potato salad, macaroni. And it's so nice to do this, me and my crew, So we had some lunch. At 5:30, Joe walks in. As soon as he got there, I see the man giving me the finger, like he wanted to talk to me in the corner. So I went over to the corner and I said, "Oh, what did we do now?" And he looked me in the eye and he said, "Who ate Joe's dinner?" So I guess the food that was there, I thought was for us. That was Joe's dinner. So the lesson.
Oh, that's so funny.
The lesson is never assume anything, right?
So, Mickey, you go on location to interview them, or is that like a special occasion?
No, very rarely. Very, very rarely. I would say, we've done it for Teddy Pendergrass, the singer. He had an accident and was paralyzed. So we went to Philadelphia. We did it for Joe Montana. We went to his hotel suite. I've done it for Larry Holmes, the heavyweight boxer. We went to Pennsylvania. And I almost did it 2 weeks ago with Kid Pledge from Sister Pledge. We are family. I was going to go to Philadelphia to interview her. At last minute, she wanted to come to New York to do some cruise shopping. So we didn't have to make that trip. But
wow.
I would say 98% of our interviews in the studio in Times Square.
Well, I'll come to you, Mickey.
Yes.
I can't wait to read these books. I want to hear the
Thank
juicy
you.
stories on all of your people that you interviewed. Who were you the most nervous about prior to the interview?
I think you'll especially like this one. You're going to like this one because I have a couple of chapters in there for broadcasters and how not to make common mistakes that we all make.
Oh, I love that. That's perfect for me.
Yeah. If you make any mistakes, but those who do might benefit from reading a couple of those chapters.
Mickey, who were you the most nervous about before interviewing them?
And I'm really not. I don't nervous too much before interviews because, years ago I had Dick Cavett on the show. He was a big talk show host back in the 70s. And, guys like him who were icons in the business, you always figure, am I over my head this interview? This week's show is Deepak Chopra. He's an intellectual. So you wonder, am I over my head or can I handle my own with the intellectuals? So the key is, as I always say, I don't get nervous because I always go in prepared to over-prepared. I'll never under-prepared.
Right. Do you ever worry,
And
though,
there
when
are
you
my
say
nerves.
something? Nowadays, there's a lot of stuff goes on that everything can be misconstrued. Especially like I'm an old soul kind of, so it's like, when you're a different generation, sometimes you could say something that maybe might be offensive to, somebody else. you know, there's a lot of like political correctness and talking to people. Do you ever worry about something you say maybe getting misinterpreted? I feel like that might be a problem that as interviewers we encounter.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good question. Yeah, and if it does happen, I think the key is knowing how to get out of it and get back into an interview that is not embarrassing and is still compelling. There's a skill set in doing that as well, because a lot of times, you know, you ask people about like Dionne Warwick about her and the psychic network. She doesn't want to talk about that anymore, you know, but you may have to ask it anyway. But depending on her response, you have to know to move on from that embarrassing moment. That's a skill set.
Right. My biggest question I ask a lot of my guests, were you ever surprised that somebody that you were a fan of growing up is actually a fan of yours and a fan of your shows? For example, I'm a big fan of Jimmy Starr in his show and what he has going on. And then I was surprised to find out he was actually a fan of my show and I watched it. Is there anybody like that in your life that you were a fan of, that you were surprised was a fan of yours, that you didn't even know really was paying attention to you and watching you all these years?
Well, yeah, I get that a lot. You know, for me personally, what I find thrilling is when I get on the subway in New York City and somebody says, "Hey, I saw the interview the other night with Darlene Love. It was great. Keep up the good work." You know, when I get feedback like that from the public in the subway, I figure we must be doing something right. It's not easy to get viewers today. You know, you have a 500 channel universe, plus you got the internet and social media. So,
that is
you know,
true.
to get people to reinforce they're watching the show, they like the show, and they're patting you on the back. That's all I need to keep going.
Well, I'm so
That's
happy.
all I need.
I'm so happy to meet you and that you came on my show. You don't understand what a privilege this is. I mean, you've just done so much in your career.
I would, you know, not only that, you're being here, you're great at what you do. With all the internet going on, I know the connections people have had problems with that recently. But, you know, I'd love to come on your show again sometime because you're really good at what you do.
Thank you. Well, I'll come to you so we don't have any internet problems.
That's why
you're worth the trip to New York.
That's why we do studio. Okay, Sparkle. You have enough.
Thanks, Mickey.
Anytime.
Felt right in the moment, felt right in the summertime. It felt right drinking cherry wine with you. Just wanted to own it, just wanted to take the time, learn all the things that I could about you. Now it's such a mess here. Oh, we are distressed here. Used to be so easy with you. Now I must confess here. Oh, I must confess, dear. Don't think I'm in love with you. Winter is coming and I don't know what to do. And there's no more use in running, no more running to you. I don't want your loving, I don't want to be just friends, knowing all this time we were playing pretend.